Today we're here with a longtime customer of ECI, Bob. He's an Ambler PA. Today we're going to talk to him about the high velocity system we just installed for him a couple months ago. He ended up upgrading his system from air conditioning that we actually also installed about 20 years ago to a heat pump, high velocity with 3 zones.
Yeah, we're incredibly happy. I think one of the things we noticed a couple years ago, and when I reached out to you, Jeremy, we noticed hot and cold spots in the house, particularly during cooling.
Yeah.
And when it's an old stone house, it's 70 years old. You know, it's sort of difficult to maintain levels of heat and cool, you know, throughout the house. We noticed we were cooling other rooms that we didn't necessarily want to be spending energy on.
Because your house has a little different dynamic. You have the old stone home that's from, how old is the original home?
Yeah, the 40s.
The 40s, and then you put your addition on that's only about 20 years old. So that's got 2 completely different heat losses, so it's definitely hard to keep all them the same temperature.
Totally different structures kind of glued together, right? Yep. Yeah, I think, you know, reaching out to you, you know, was primarily based on the desire to try and zone the cooling. But also I've always been super interested in energy efficiency.
Yep.
And I think, you know, we're definitely wanted to take advantage of newer technology, more efficient technology.
Yep.
And I think, you know, also the condenser was getting pretty old. You know, 20 years in, it was still cranking, but it made noise when it started up, and I was worried about that. So you guys, you know, after multiple conversations, ECI, you know, came out and helped us design, you know, I think a really unique application. We ended up consulting several other suppliers, but there was nobody even close. A couple of them didn't even want to talk about zoning. Other people were just wanted to have sort of a cookie cutter approach. And I think particularly your idea of bridging a first floor and second floor in the addition into its own zone, and being able to configure the high velocity AC system to actually serve that as a zone, and installing dampers and all the really cool things that ended up getting put in, really solved the issue.
20 years ago, I was actually involved in the original install.
Yeah.
That was the kind of running joke. I'm like, I have the trade secret.
Institutional knowledge.
I know where it's all at. I'm not sharing it. So.
Well, if you stop and think about that, like I can't think of another, you know, contractor or service provider in our house that we've had that long, right?
That's awesome.
So it was just a natural fit. You know, obviously we wanted to compare, but in the end there was no comparison. Really happy.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Like I said, it was fun work with you too. Like I'm a salesman, but obviously I've been here for 20 years. I've done install, done service. So coming in here, talking with you, hearing where you were comfortable, not comfortable at. Zoning definitely, to me, came to my mind right away. We first talked about first, second floor, but then the dynamics of, again, that addition being a different heat load and heating and cooling different ways. We then came up with the third zone. And again, that was something that we worked together on.
Yeah,
you know? It was a nice
collaborative.
It was nice working together. And we also worked together on, you got thermostats, Nest thermostats.
Yeah.
We were able to tie the heat pump zones, each thermostat, to your boiler system, which you have multiple zones for. So now, if the heat pump's not keeping up in that zone, you now can have that boiler come on with the radiators.
But we don't burn a whole lot of oil now. So one of the big surprises in the new system, you know, with the incredible Bosch heat pump, we really haven't used the oil heat at all. The furnace still runs because the hot water heater, but other than that, we've been really happy, and our energy usage in total definitely shows the efficiency of the system. The oil company wanted to know, you know, why were we not using so much, and you know, had a lot of people left the house, and I said, no, we have a heat pump. They said, oh, that's why.
Yeah. You have yours in kind of a pretty tight spot there. You got it right outside your kitchen window. We actually talked for a couple of years about replacing that unit.
Yeah.
Now this Bosch technology came out, I was happy to bring it to your attention, and I think it fit out there.
I'm really glad we waited. It's night and day, right? So if you had a car that, you know, when you got in and started it, it immediately went to the maximum revolutions and took off. Yeah. That's kind of how the old one was. Yep. And it worked, you know, it cooled. But this one, sometimes you don't even know it's there.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is the indoor air quality. Have you noticed difference with the air scrubber, with the quality of air in the house?
Like if you ever look on a sunny day and you look across the room and you see like floaty, dusty things in the air, like that just doesn't exist in the house anymore. Yeah. So the air scrubber is actually removing all of that particulate. We see and sense that the air quality is really improved. by adding that. It didn't add a whole lot of footprint, and I would encourage anyone to try and incorporate that into their system. The other comment I would just like to highlight is, you know, the level of responsiveness of ECI, the level of professionalism of every service tech that's ever walked in here, the attention to cleanliness and just making sure that everything was buttoned up. I mean, from when you first came here 20 years ago, there's people in here from ECI, you know, in booties today.
Yeah.
And it's just really great to see that level of care and you know, standards that the company keeps.
Our name to fame is every day we're done the install, everything gets picked up, all the drop cloths, every room gets vacuumed, plastics up, and when you're done the install, that night your house is back to where it was when you started. That way you're not trying to tiptoe around, you know, drop cloths and curtains and stuff like that.
It's like you were never there.
Yep, awesome. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video today about this Unico system. If you have any more questions, please look at our website at ecicomfort.com or give us a call.